Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, House of Jazz, and I'm coming at you different. For those of you who are like, where is he? I don't see him. I'm at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Little me over here. Yeah. All right. So, one of my Patreon members requested a tutorial, but it wasn't a piano tutorial. They're trying to learn how to use Studio One, and one of the VST instruments that they have is Complete by Native Instruments. So they asked if I could just show just basically how you set it up and how, give an example of how you would use it. So that's what this video is about. I'm going to use an original song that my band wrote like 20 something years ago, just to show you it's nothing. It's not going to be like some major production. It's just going to be something just to show you how to get up and working in Studio One. One of the main issues this particular person was having was getting Studio One to recognize their VST instruments. It's like it's not seeing their extra VST instruments. What you want to do, this is the screen that you're looking at right now, is the screen that you see when you first open up Studio One. That's what you're seeing right there. Now, if you have not been able to get Studio One to recognize your instruments, this is what you need to do. You're going to come over here, take your mouse, and I'm over at the top left-hand corner, and you see where it says Studio One. I have the little pointer going in a circle. If you click Studio One, go down to Options, this window will appear. Usually it goes on user. Okay, it might be on user data. What you want to do is make sure that you have location highlighted, because there's a lot of other settings that could be highlighted. So make sure that you have locations highlighted. Okay, location, and then between instrument library and VST plugins is where you're going to tell Studio One where to look for those extra VST instruments that you purchased or you've downloaded and is not recognizing. For me, I put everything into this VST plugins folder. I have an external hard drive. It's a 4 terabyte hard drive, and all of my Native Instruments Complete. I have Complete Ultimate from Native Instruments. I have Complete Ultimate, and all of those instruments are in that drive, in that F drive. So if you see what I have right here under VST plugins, you can see now there are some other VST instruments that are on the C drive. Okay. But I made sure that right here, you see how it says it's the F drive, and go to the Native Instruments Complete joints. That's what I named the folder. I was trying to be slick right there. And what you do is, first of all, you have to know where you place the instruments on your computer. Okay. I can't tell you where you placed it. Only you know where you installed them. But once you figure out where they're installed, you can always come down here and click Add. And when you click Add, that's when you can tell. For me, I had to say, okay, well, we need to go to the F drive right here, right? I had to say, go to the F drive. And then I was pointing it, and I said, then you have to go to Native Instruments Complete joints. Now, once I selected that folder, I just click Select Folder. I'm not going to click it right now because, as you already can see, it's already selected. But that's what you would do. You will guide Studio One to the actual folder that has all of your VST instruments installed. Okay, and you can continue to add. You can always click Add. So let's say you have them in multiple locations. Maybe you have Native Instruments here, but maybe you might have Spectratronic VST instruments in another folder. Then you can add that folder. You can say, well, my keyscape is in this folder. Okay, add that. Once you have all that set, then you can click Apply. Then you click OK. Now, I'm not going to do this now, but this is what you will have to do. You will have to close out Studio One. Close it out. Restart it. When you restart Studio One, you should be able to, it should take longer to restart. Do not be scared about that, because the reason why it's taking longer is because it's like, oh, hold up, whoa, look at all these VST instruments. And so it starts looking at all these instruments like, oh, okay, let's get them all set up and ready to go. Okay. So that's how you get Studio One to recognize your instruments. Okay, so now Studio One is like, okay, bam, you on this screen again. Now, the proper way that you want to create a new song, you always want to create a new folder every single time for every single song, because you want anything that you do within that song to be contained into that folder. So this is the proper way to create a new folder. You come over here to a new song, I should say, when you get ready to create a new song. Come over here to new song. Okay. Personally, now if you want to use something else, that's fine. I always start with an empty song because I never start the exact same way when I'm doing a new song, so I just go with empty. But this is where it's important. You need to know where you want to store your songs. So when you look over here, right here, by default, it says my C drive. That's not where I store my music. When I do songs, I store it on my D drive because it has a whole lot more room. My C drive, it's not that much stuff on it because I want to keep it kind of open and free so that the computer can run correctly. So what you want for me, I have to click those dots that you just saw me, and then I'll go to what this is called, the D drive. And I created, let me see, something that's called VS Studio One version 5 projects. I'm sorry. I created this folder. So I'm going to go in there, and then I'm going to say, oh, okay, I got some songs here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder. So the name of this song that I'm working on is called Anything You Want. So I'm just going to call it Anything You Want. Anything You Want. Okay, now of course you can name it whatever you want to name it. Please don't name it Anything You Want. If you have a title for it, if you already know what the song is, the title of it is, name it that. If you don't know what it's called, then give it something that you'll recognize. But once you have Anything You Want, then you click that. You can double click it or just come down here and say select folder. Okay. And then up here, now that's the name of the folder. Now up here, you can name your project. So I'm going to actually name the project Anything You Want as well. So now the folder is called Anything You Want. And now the actual Studio One project file is called Anything You Want. That's what you want to do first. And then after that, you click OK. Okay, so now you're on the screen, and it's time for you to get things set up and start to record. This is just, from this point on, this tutorial is really going to be just for people who have native instrument software and need to use Komplete to call up their instruments. Now, what you want to do is you go up here to Instruments, you click Instruments, and then you're going to want to look for Contact. Now, for me, because of the version of native instruments that I have, I don't want to use Contact 5. I just want to use just Contact. So you take Contact, and then you can just drag it over. Just drag it over. I think you can double click as well. So you drag it over, and now here go Contact. And Contact has all the different instruments that I own, that I have through Komplete. So I have all kinds of instruments. So now it's time to start building up my instrument rack so that I can start making music. So me being a piano player, I tend to want to lay down my piano track first. One of the pianos that I like to use, I know I'm pronouncing this wrong, Noir or Nor. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Noire. I like to go there. And you can I always use the one that says Pure. You can click and just drag it to this empty area, but I think you can also just double click it real fast and it should load up. So now you see that it's loaded up on the screen up here. Okay, so if you look up here, sometimes if an instrument takes a long time to load, you'll see some numbers up in this area just letting you know it's loaded. Actually, it's doing it right here. This little line right here is letting you know that it's loading up all the samples, okay? So once you have that loaded up, okay, here we go. We have a piano sound, okay? All right, so got my piano sound. Now I know that I'm going to want a drum too, a drum set. So for me, I'm going, it's still incomplete. I'm going to get what is called, I think it's called Modern Drummer. I think this is by Abbey Road. So I'm going to do a search for the word modern. And there it is. It just found it for me. This is just a quick way. You can drag up and down and look for it, but I'm like, as you can see, it's a lot of instruments there. So this was the quick way. So they give you 4 different versions of that drum set to use. I'm not a drummer, so I really don't know what is meant by full and light and all that stuff. So I just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I say, I feel like a sparkle today, so I'm going to take the sparkle full kit. So I'm going to click, and I'm just going to drag it over here. So now I have a drum set down here. Okay, so now we got piano, drums. Now you click this little circle so that, is it the circle? Yeah, and if you click the circle, it just makes it so that you can fit things in the screen. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so now I have drums. Okay, so I got drums, and I know I'm gonna need a bass line, right? So I'm gonna go ahead on and set up my bass. Okay, so now that I have the drums, I'm going to do a search for bass. I'm gonna get one of the bass. The one that I like to use on a lot of my productions is this Bass amped. It's already amped, and I like to use the one that's called fat. Not because I'm fat, but just because the sound of it is fat. So I can't believe I said that. So I'll click, drag that down there. Okay. So again, you can always click this little circle like this so that you can kind of focus on that. So there go my bass right there. And sometimes that takes a minute to load up too. Now, okay. So for right now, I'm like those are 3 instruments, you know, my basic instruments. I got piano, bass, and drums. Okay. Now, what we want to do is to get all the, now notice this. Let me say this. Pay attention to the fact that I put the piano track first. So since I loaded this into Kontakt first, this is going to be considered MIDI channel number 1. Okay, just remember that. Just go with the order that you bring them in. Some of these will tell you what MIDI channel is on. I'm trying to see. I don't see where it says it on here. But if you look at here for the drum set, it actually will tell you that it says MIDI 2. So these drums are set to channel 2. This is going to be very important that you know this. So the piano was on MIDI track 1, even though you don't see it. I don't know why they didn't make it so that you can see it. MIDI channel 2. And then on here, you can see that it says MIDI channel 3. This is the bass, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, I can go ahead on and close out this because I need to get over here. Now, what you want to do is you want to create tracks for each of those instruments. So they already create this one automatically. Like when you first bring Kontakt in, they just automatically create a track. I'm lazy, so what I like to do is I just say duplicate track, and then I'll click it and say duplicate it again. Okay, so now I have a track for the piano, one for the drums, and one for the bass. But it is important that the track that you want for your piano, first go ahead on and change that name from complete to the word piano so that you know that this is going to be your piano track. Now that channel is already set to MIDI channel 1. If you look over here, it says channel 1. So when I play my keyboard, and you can look on the screen to see what I'm playing, you hear the piano. Now remember, the second thing on MIDI channel 2 is drums. So go ahead on and just call this drums, right? So, all right, so we got the drums, okay. But then you come down here and be like, wait a minute, why do I still hear piano? I don't get it. I thought it's supposed to be the drums. I don't get it. What's wrong? Okay, remember I said remember about MIDI channels. Remember the MIDI drums. The drums were on MIDI channel 2. So just make sure you come over here and switch this to channel 2. Once you switch it to channel 2, now you got drums, right? There you go. Now, if you remember, the third track was supposed to be bass. So I'm going to go ahead on, switch that over to bass. BASS. And of course, that was on MIDI channel 3. So come over here and select MIDI channel 3. Now I have... Ooh, I didn't know that was going to come out that loud. Sorry, y'all. Right. Yeah. All right. So now I'm ready to start recording some music because I'm like, and whatever track you want to start with, just make sure you highlight it. If you want to start working on the piano track, highlight track 1. Now you got piano sound. Then when you're ready to go to the drums, you click track 2. Now you got all kinds of drums. Or if you want to start with the bass line, click 3. Everything is set up, you ready to go. Now what you definitely want to do is make sure you have your tempo set up. For this particular song, I think maybe a 100 tempo might be appropriate. I don't know. I might have to readjust it. I didn't make sure, but a lot of songs are usually in 4/4 time, which means it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the pulse, right? But you know, there are sometimes when songs are in divisibles of 3. So that means you might have a 6/8 time where you might have a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, 6, a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, 6. So if you do have something like that, then it's going to be important that before you start recording, you change your timing down here. This is like the time signature. So 4/4 usually works for most people, but if you need a 6/8 time, then go ahead on and click 6 right there. And then come here and click 8, and now you have a 6/8 time, okay? All right, and then I don't know if this is true for Mac, but if you press the letter C on your keyboard, it turns the metronome on and off. That's this little arrow right here. You see how it's turning blue, off? Now, of course, you can manually just click it on and off, but I just use the letter C on my typing keyboard, okay? And that turns it on and off, okay? Now, for this song, again, I need 4/4 times. So I'm going to put that back on 4 and 4. Okay. So now it's time to get busy. It's time to do some work here. So now with the recording, I'm going to start with the piano. Make sure that y'all can hear it. Hold on. Just doing some leveling. Okay, there we go. Y'all probably can hear it better. And so if you want a pre-count, which means 4, like I guess is 4 before the actual recording start. Let me just put it this way. If you was to press record right now, you see how it immediately started to record? You know what I'm saying? But let's say you like, well, no. Like give me 4, like give me a 1, 2, ready, and then record. Then that's when you will select this little circle right here, which is called the pre-count. And I believe that'll give you 4 clicks before it starts recording. 1, 2, ready, and now it's recording. You see what I'm saying? That gives you a chance. I do believe there's a way that you can make that longer. Like let's say if you wanted an 8 count, but I don't know how to do it. 4 is usually good for me. So, all right. So I'm gonna start with the piano. So I'm gonna let y'all watch me make this track real quick. This is nothing. This is not going to be the greatest thing in the world. This is just something so that you can just watch me do something. All right. So I'm gonna press the record button. 1, 2, ready, and. So that's a good, that's a good loop right there. I'm just going to play it back just to make sure everything is cool. Just playing it back, right? Make sure it feels good. Okay, that feels good. That feels good. So what I want to do is I just want that section to loop over and over again. So you can come up here and just drag out this thing right here so that it will loop just that. If you make sure that your snap is on. How do you turn it off? Yeah, I guess, yeah. Make sure the snap is on so that it will perfectly snap. If it's not on, it'll be free-handed and your loop might not loop it correctly. So just make sure that make sure this is on, which is this right here, and then make your adjustment so that you can snap it right at the right spot. Okay. So, and now I want to set my loop. So I'm going to set this little circle right here. This is the loop. When you click this, it'll just play what's in between measures 1 and 9. So let me show you. Then it will just loop it. So, yeah. What y'all know about that? What? Yeah. Come on now. And now it should go right back to the beginning. See how it just looped? Okay, that's what we want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bass line in here. So I'm coming to measure 3 because that's where my bass is. Woo, that's kind of loud, isn't it? All right, so we're going to put that down. So let's record that now. So 2, 3, and... Just listening to it to make sure it's all right, make sure it's good. Ooh, okay. Oh, hit the wrong button. Okay, it's not the most perfect thing in the world, but that's not what I'm trying to do in this video. Okay, and of course you got to put you got to put some type of drums in there. So we're just gonna do boom. Just a simple beat. Right, so just go ahead on the record. 2, 3, and. Ooh, I don't like the way I don't like the way I was playing. I'm gonna try it again. Here we go. 2, ready, and. As you can tell, I'm not a drummer, okay? So that was horrible. So what I like to do is use something called Quantize. So I'm going to double click on those drums. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. If I'm not mistaken, on Studio One, if you hit the letter Q, it'll quantize the note. Yep. If you know, I don't know if you noticed that. Let me undo it for a second. Like, pay attention. Let's pay attention to this note right here. Okay, see where it is. Now watch what happens when I hit the letter Q. You see how it kind of moved? It put everything on beat for us. Now, because I'm not usually I don't like to use Quantize when I'm doing other instruments, but I'm just not a drummer. I can't hit on beat. So now when you listen to it, it should have everything more locked in. Let's see. The drums are like hitting better. Of course, it sounds like a robot, but hey. Okay, and now of course I need to get at least a snare, not a snare, but a hi-hat. So on that same channel, I'm going to press record again, and this will overdub the hi-hats right in. 1, 2, 3, and. and of course I can quantize again if I don't like the hi-hat. So I'll just hit the letter Q again, and now everything should be lined up. Let's see what we got. Hey, woo, yeah. What? Tell me I can't play the drums. Can't nobody play the drums like me. What? Yeah. Anything you want, anything you need, I can satisfy if you just believe. Anything you want, anything you need, I can satisfy. Just give me a try. Woo! Okay, so that's basically it, y'all. Of course, there's a whole lot more that goes into producing. And like even with those drums, what I would do is wind up taking those drums and putting them all on separate patches and then putting them into, like, this isn't, an advanced thing. This is just to get you started. So of course, if you come down here and you see the word mix and you click mix, it'll show you a mixer so that you can start balancing the levels. I guess it's not showing that. Oh, I know why. Because everything's coming out of contact. Well, let me just show you this one little trick. Let me see how to do it on contact. Because what a good thing to do is to have all of your tracks as audio files. So like this is once you're finished with it, like as is. I wouldn't change everything to audio files yet, but let's just pretend, oh my goodness, this is the most perfect song in the world. There's no song. It is perfect. I'm ready to start the mixing process, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what you want to do is take these MIDI files and convert them to audio files. So if you select them all, like if you see how I just made sure I select all the tracks, and let me see where it is on Studio One. I use Cubase mostly, but I know you can do this on Studio One. Has something to do about bouncing. So we're going to see, is it under song? Let's see. Well, I guess it says you can export stems, but that's not what we're trying to do right now. I'm going to pause this video, find out what it is, and come right back in like 1 second. Told you I'll be back. See, y'all thought it was going to take me a long time. Figured out what to do. Okay. Easiest way, this is what you do. Again, make sure everything is highlighted, and then right click on any of this area that's highlighted. Right click, and then you click bounce to new track. When you click bounce to new track, what it'll do is it's going to take all of those MIDI files and turn them into audio files. So now at this point, you can mute all of your MIDI channels if you still have them. Yeah, like these are the original MIDI channels that we used. We don't really need them right now because we have audio channels. So what I'm doing is I'm just moving the MIDI channels out of the way because I don't need them. And down here, now we have audio tracks now. So now that we have audio tracks, let's play the track. Now, if you come down here to the mixer, you can see you can solo. Well, and I don't need the metronome on now that I'm finished recording. I'm gonna turn the metronome off, and there go my piano. And I can say, okay, now let me see where the drums are. So you can bring in the drums and try to blend the sound together so that the drums aren't too loud. And then I can come over here to the bass. And make a more palatable sound, you know? There you go. Hey, yeah, come on. Okay, so that's your masterpiece. So now that your masterpiece is done, you're ready to let everybody hear it. You can come over here. I think you come to song, right? And then it says export mix down. So you will export. So now you're ready to create your MP3 In some instances, you might need to create it a WAV file, but if it's just for general purposes, for listening to it in your car or whatever, you probably want to make an MP3. So then you click that, and then you give it a name. So we're gonna call this anything you want. All right, because we're gonna name the MP3 anything you want. And I'm gonna make sure I write incomplete so that I know that this isn't like the real version of it. That's just for me. Okay, and you're gonna say do not publish it. You know that this is for when you're storing stuff for Spotify and all this other stuff. You don't need to worry about that, but you want to make sure your format is MP3. So MP3 was already selected. 44.1 is usually just fine. I mean, that's all you really need. If you're just a basic person, I mean, there could be reasons why you need higher resolutions, like to 48, but most of the stuff you listen to on Spotify and all that stuff is 44.1. Trust me. I like to make the MP3 at the highest quality, so it says 320 kbps. 128 gives you a decent sound too, but I just like to just go with the highest quality. That's just me. And then over here where it says export range, I'm saying between the loops. So what it's going to do is it's going to take anything that is between measure 1 and measure 9 and measure it down. So that's why I have in between the loop. Okay, now if you just wanted to just do it another way, my suggestion is always set your loop point first and then click it. That way you'll know what part is being done. Everything else is usually pretty much okay. You can select where you want the mix down to appear. They can create a mix down folder for you in the folder where you already are. I tend to just say, put my mix downs on the desktop, please, so that I can find it. But for this case, I'm going to go ahead on and let them create a mix down folder for me. I'm just going to go ahead and let them do it. So you just click OK. And then Studio One is like, okay, whoa, you saw how fast that was? It's like, okay, yeah, we good now, okay? So now that you have all that done, you're basically done. They give you a mixdown folder that popped up automatically, and here it is. Anything you want. So you double click it. Whoa, there it is. Yeah, what you know about that? Huh? The best song in the world. Yeah. Da, da, da. So that's the basic, ridiculously extreme, basic way to just get your stuff started. Just, get started in Studio One. Again, there is a whole lot of stuff that goes into creating music or whatever, but this is just to get you started. So hopefully this helped you out. And think my next video will be a piano tutorial again. So I'll catch you then.